Welcome back. My name is Matt Reiners, and I'm the co-founder of Eversound, a company dedicated to improving quality of life for older adults by giving them the gift of hearing. Today, I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Jack York, co-founder of iN2L. Jack has been one of the kindest individuals during our time here at Eversound. He's invited us to dinners that we had no rhyme or reason to be at, and has just offered mentorship, help, guidance, love, whatever you want to call it. Over the last 6 or so years. And I'm really honored, and it's a privilege to be with you here today, Jack.
All right. Well, I pretty much invite anybody to those dinners, so I wouldn't read, I wouldn't read too much into that. But you guys it's been cool to meet Jake, and Eversound, I think, has been very philosophically aligned with just kind of the way iN2L rolls. So it's been fun to get to know you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And Jack, rather than getting into the innovation or the technology side, I really want to just talk to you about relationships, specifically partnerships and friendships, within the industry. Because I remember being at an event at a Pioneer Network a few years ago where I showed up a little late, I'll admit that, but everyone was going around and talking about you. They weren't talking about It's Never Too Late, and they were talking about either shared experiences that they had with you or a funny moment. And I thought you were either retiring or dying, unfortunately. And it just seemed to really speak to the love that people had for you. So, I'd love to just kind of learn about your philosophy when it comes to these relationships.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's Oscar Wilde, the old poet, long ago poet, something he wrote that said, take what you do very seriously, but don't take yourself that seriously. And I think that I grew up professionally in the world of high tech and the Silicon Valley, and I mean it was intense. It was very intense, and I was the VP of sales for a semiconductor company, and the relationships had a place, but it was really much more about the performance of your product and the design. It was just an intense sales experience. So, I got into senior living. I started iN2L with Leslie and my friend Leslie and my brother Tom, and we didn't, to our, I think, ultimate benefit, we didn't know anything about senior living. So I just kind of went into it like what I was doing before, that same kind of intense in your face. You're gonna really try this product, And it really didn't work. And then I just started finding out the more that I just totally was authentic of just, talking about my kids and hearing about other people's lives. And then, then weave iN2L into it. It just resonated, and it was very authentic. It wasn't that I was trying to manipulate anything. It was more just people that are in this profession, for the most part, are in it for reasons way above and beyond making a buck. And so it just felt authentic to kind of be that same way and get to know them a little bit. And obviously your product has to work, and you've got to be prioritize that customer experience, which we did, but it was just a whole different world than what I grew up in.
Yeah. And I think it's, in senior living, my experience has been, and you've inspired me to kind of take that same approach. And I find with senior living, like the majority of people that work in this are great, amazing people, right? And you need to connect with them on a personal level in order to do business, because there's so many salespeople out there that are taking more of that aggressive sales approach because that's what they're taught. But I know one of the things you had mentioned in terms of being authentic is sharing your family. And I think I've seen more videos of your daughter singing at conferences than any other video out there. And, as being a person that's starting to introduce my own family into the world, being inspired by you, I'm curious how that came to play. And if you had, any hesitancy at first to do that.
No, it's funny, and I do want to commend you, and I'm honored that I was a trailblazer in child exploitation that you're taking advantage of. Really how it all started was I had 3 kids, boy, girl, and the boys liked hanging out at nursing homes and meeting residents, and my daughter not so much, and didn't want to push it, but the boys liked doing it, and it was just, when it was summer, we would drive around, and they were so good at selling iN2L. They were like, they were 8 and 10 at the time, for example. They did it for several years. and they knew how to pitch the product. And the rest, who I was selling to, they would bring in the residents and they'd start, it just was like, it was like a cool dad thing to do. It was cool for them to know what I did. They had no idea what I was doing before. And they liked all the games and stuff we have on the system. They authentically liked to do it. And one of the huge benefits of doing that was they now have grown up without any fear of dementia or any fear of MS or, whatever you want to say, or just being in a nursing home or aging. And so I think it really kind of started from just wanting to be able to spend time with my kids while I was working. And then they enjoyed it. And then I realized that, hey, the communities like it. And then I started the exploitation. And so that Nathan, my middle son in particular, he was great at, public speaking at 8 years old. So I'd rope him along to fundraisers. I'd rope him along to, and you just, pay him $20 under the table, and he was good. And so it just wound up being, maybe a little exploitive, but memories that I just cherish forever. And I know you're doing the same thing with your daughter, and you'll start bringing her into communities when she first starts taking her steps, I'm sure.
I want to note too, because I mean, you haven't given up on this family endeavor, because even the last show I was at, one of your sons was there playing guitar.
I should have carried it forward. It's like my daughter. It's funny because I write. I've kind of stopped trying to be the thought leader guy. There's so many of you guys out there now. So I used to write more posts and social media stuff than I do now, but I would write something and, you'd get 11 followers and 4 positive comments. And then I started posting when my daughter had this incredible run on American Idol right before COVID. And I was getting hundreds and hundreds of comments and cool stuff. So it was, to me, that was not so much exploitation as just being an obnoxiously proud dad. Yeah. And my son as well. My son, JP, is also a great musician. And they've done some stuff together for different senior living events, and now it's just kind of enjoying their maturity, and they're becoming adults. It's very cool.
Yeah, and I think I love it. We talk about shared experiences, right? And to have that opportunity to do that with your kids, and I've even had people come out to me and like appreciate the stuff that I'm doing with Adelaide, my daughter, because like, they almost had this mindset, they got to keep things very separate. But I think we're starting to see this shift almost, where I think it was definitely under a magnifying glass with the pandemic, where everyone's working from home and, doing all these things, and people have got real lives. And I think there's better opportunities to really build those relationships, and including that in that and not hiding away from it.
Yeah. Right. And it's, I love the evolution of iN2L. And for those of you who don't know who iN2L is, we've been around for 22 years. We're all about different ways to engage people through our interactive technology, especially folks dealing with dementia, wherever they are, physically or cognitively. Last year, we were acquired by Vista, who had, a phenomenal private equity company that's doing really, really cool things with our platform and the technology. But at the end of the day, it's still a relationship world. And I think that I just have always leaned into that more than have ran away from it. And I think, you're the same way, Matt, that you and I kind of travel in the same circles and similar events and such. And I think, many, many people over the years have complimented me and complimented iN2L because it's a different, it feels good as a consumer to be treated as a person, not as a number. So it's a mix of, you got to grow your business and you got to make money, but at the same time, I think there's ways to do it where you can just be authentic with yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's so true, right? Being authentic with yourself, being authentic with your company, and just like doing good things that aren't necessarily, you don't do it to be recognized. You do it to like put good into the world. And I know you've done some other things with like Francis, for example, where That's an amazing story. If you want to kind of just share a little bit about that for those that aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, just, and again, it's similar to iN2L as far as just kind of following your heart. That I met Francis at a speaking event at the Global Aging Network affiliation with Leading Age in Perth, Australia, and he was speaking. We were together on a panel, and he comes into the room dressed up like he looked like Eddie Murphy in Coming to America, and just tells this remarkable story of the work that he's done in Cameroon to support the elders and women, and never thinking of it you're never thinking of it as expecting anything. We just sent him a $500 donation for the heck of it. And instead of just sending back a form letter of thanking me, he set up like 6 weeks later, I get these videos and all this literature that he set up the Jack York Northwest Cameroonian Elderly Women Goat Fund. And so he had brought goats to different villages, and it just, who is this guy? And so we raised money for him to build a senior center in the middle of Cameroon, Africa, named after my mother, the Dorothy York Senior Center in the middle of Cameroon. And so again, it's I love the work he's doing, but I love him as a person. And it's the same thing talking about some of the CEOs and the activity professionals and the people that I've met along the line with iN2L. For me, one of the joys of aging is you're able to just kind of hang out with people you want to hang out with. And there's so many people I've met through iN2L that are just going to be lifelong friends. It's so much transcended. Our relationship is so much transcended what was started out as more of a business relationship.
Yeah, they're becoming friends, right? That's one of the things that I've experienced. You have all those shared experiences. I look forward to seeing these people at conferences and shows, even the business partnership aside, and, I'm invested in them. I want the best for them and whatever, that looks like. And, it's just all about what I've learned with inspiration from you is, you got to be a human first, and you got to be a good person first, and do good by others, because that good will come back upon you.
Yeah, I always do. Man, I always want to be teaching you something. So just one quick thing here.
Sounds good.
We're talking creative ways of exploitation. I'm now working puppies. I think puppies are going to be my next way to exploit potential business opportunities for iN2L. So meet Jackie. This is Jackie, a new Cocker Spaniel in the York family.
I love it. Well, thank you, Jack and Jackie, for joining me here today. I think our listeners will get a lot out of this, and thanks again for joining.
It is an honor. We love all the communities that have paired the Eversound experience with the iN2L experience to the benefit of elders. And do you have a dog headset? Is there a dog headset that is in the works?
Not yet, but I can see what we can make happen for that. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. Goodbye, Matt. Goodbye, Eversound. Goodbye, everybody.